Life in medieval Italy, peasants, hardship and war. When we imagine medieval Italy, we often picture grand city-states, merchant princes, and towering cathedrals. But beneath that glittering veneer lived the overwhelming majority of the population, peasants. Their lives, marked by hardship, ingenuity, and deep connection to the land, formed the foundation on which Italy's cultural and political heritage was built. Today, we're exploring what daily life might have been like for these men, women, and children. We'll look at how economic pressures shaped their traditions, how community life evolved under constant uncertainty, and how three major wars of the medieval period influenced everything from family structure to local customs. Let's step into their world. To understand the medieval Italian peasant's life, you have to imagine a society where survival depended on rhythm, the rhythm of the seasons, the rhythm of harvests, and the rhythm of obligations owed to lords and local elites. Most peasants lived in small villages grouped around a manor, an estate, or in later centuries, a rising commune. Houses were simple, wooden frames with wattle and daub walls, straw roofs, dirt floors, and a central hearth where smoke filled the home before drifting out through cracks. Clothing was durable but rough, usually wool or hemp. A tunic, a belt knife, and simple leather shoes were luxury enough. Work began before dawn. Men tended the fields, repaired tools, and managed livestock. Women handled food preparation, weaving, childcare, and often shared farm labor. Children worked early, gathering firewood, scaring birds from crops, carrying water, or helping with animals. Despite the hardship, Italian peasants nurture a vibrant sense of community. Festivals, religious processions, and feast days offered rare moments of joy. Even during lean years, a Saint's festival or a village bonfire was a chance to put aside worry and remember a shared identity. Economic pressure deeply shaped peasant culture. When money was scarce, communities relied on traditions that emphasized cooperation and mutual support. One unique practice was the vicinanza system in central and northern Italy. These were neighborhood communities, tight-knit groups bound by shared resources. They shared ovens, pastures, mills, and responsibilities for maintaining walls or irrigation channels. If a family fell on hard times, neighbors provided grain, tools, or labor, because everyone knew the same fate could strike them. In rural Tuscany, peasants observed mezzadria, a sharecropping system where families worked a landlord's land in exchange for half of the harvest. This arrangement shaped nearly every aspect of life: marriages, migration, and family size. The more hands a family had, the stronger their bargaining position. This is one reason why Italian families in this era often grew large. Children were economic necessities. Another cultural practice influenced by economic hardship was communal bread making. Wood was expensive, and maintaining private ovens was nearly impossible for poor families. Instead, villages built large communal ovens where women baked bread in weekly cycles. These gatherings became social centers, places to share news, stories, and strategies for surviving difficult seasons. And then there were unique religious rituals shaped by insecurity. In times of drought, peasants organized rogation processions, carrying relics through the fields to ask for divine intervention. Such rituals weren't mere superstition. They were the expressions of hope for communities who understood the fragility of their livelihood. Italy, in the medieval period, wasn't a unified nation. Instead, it was a mosaic of kingdoms, duchies, republics, and papal territories. Warfare, both local and international, was a constant. And while nobles and mercenaries fought for power, peasants bore much of the burden. Here are three major conflicts and how they reshaped family life and village culture. In the thousands, Norman adventurers, originally Vikings who had settled in France, began conquering southern Italy. For peasants in Apulia, Calabria, and Sicily, the Normans' arrival meant this sudden upheaval. Villages were conscripted to pay new taxes. Some families fled to the hills, others were forced to provide food and shelter to moving armies. These invasions forced families to rethink how they protected their property. Many peasants developed informal pacts with neighbors where, during times of invasion, families pooled livestock into smaller groups and hid them in mountain pastures. Oral traditions from southern Italy remember these years through ballads about the Normandy, portraying them as both fearsome warriors and bringers of new rule. The long-term impact on families was profound. The Normans centralized the land ownership and introduced new feudal obligations. Many peasants found themselves working land they once considered their own, now held under stricter supervision. Family strategies shifted. Alliances through marriage became essential for economic survival under new lords. These conflicts, fought between supporters of the Pope, Guelphs, and the Holy Roman Emperor, Ghibellines, tore apart central and northern Italy for nearly 200 years. For peasants, these weren't abstract political disputes. They were wars that split towns, families, and even households. Entire villages were forced to declare allegiance, often switching sides as power shifted. Families lived with constant uncertainty. If the opposing faction gained control, your land could be confiscated, your home burned, or your oldest son forcibly conscripted. This era led to one fascinating cultural development, the fortified communal house. Many peasant households in Tuscany and Emilia began building stone towers or thick-walled homes with narrow windows, simple fortresses designed for survival during factional raids. Women often became the anchors of households during this period, with men frequently taken away for war or political exile. Women managed farms, negotiated with local authorities, and kept family traditions alive. Some historians credit the resilience of the Italian peasant family to the strength of these women who held households together during decades of civil strife. Although technically late medieval transitioning into early modern, the Italian wars dramatically affected peasant life and are essential to understanding how medieval structures collapsed. These wars involved France, Spain, the Holy Roman Empire, and local Italian powers, all fighting for dominance. Armies of thousands marched across the peninsula, consuming food stores, burning crops, and spreading disease. For peasants, the fear was not just invasion, it was the arrival of mercenary armies who lived off the land. Entire regions developed the practice of la macchia, retreating into the countryside whenever foreign troops approached. Families hid in forests or remote valleys until armies moved on. This survival strategy is echoed in regional legends from Lombardy, Veneto, and Umbria, where stories speak of villagers vanishing into the hills like smoke. Financing these massive wars also increased tax burdens. In some regions, peasants were forced to provide not only grain and livestock, but also sons to serve in auxiliary roles: porters, diggers, cooks, or camp followers. Families often had to strategize which son to send, weighing the risk of death against the risk of punishment for refusing. The psychological toll was immense. Diaries and local chronicles describe entire generations growing up with a sense of fatalism, yet also a fierce local pride that helped preserve Italy's regional identities. Out of centuries of hardship came a uniquely powerful social fabric. Peasants learned to depend not on distant kings or shifting political powers, but on neighbors, traditions, and community networks, weddings, feast days, seasonal rituals, and the shared experience of surviving difficult times created bonds that endured long after medieval Italy faded into history. This is why many regions of Italy today still have strong local identities, because those identities were forged through struggle. The foods, festivals, dialects, and customs that survive into the present can often be traced back to these medieval peasants who adapted to war, famine, and political chaos. Medieval Italian peasants may not have left behind grand cathedrals or epic poetry, but they built something just as important: the cultural foundations that made Italy what it is today. Understanding medieval Italy through the eyes of its peasants, not its princes, gives us a clearer picture of how ordinary people shaped history. Their resilience in the face of invasion, economic hardship, and political turmoil tells a powerful story of endurance and community. If you enjoyed this deep dive into medieval Italian life, be sure to like, subscribe, and explore our other historical narratives on the Real History 101. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep exploring the past to better understand our present.